Hello and welcome to Mr. Magic Mustache's Hearts of Iron 3 video tutorial. I just made this quick demo so I could show people pretty much what everything does. Just a little better than those woefully inadequate tutorials that come with the game. So first of all, what I'm going to do is customize my map mode. If you choose to play this game, you'll be staring at it for hours. I like to choose the diplomatic map mode for obvious reasons. It gives more definition between countries. Lets me see my conquests and what I want to conquer. Each map mode will display very relevant information when the time is needed, especially the supply map mode. I find that very useful in wartime. Anyway, I'm just going to go now to the alert menu, which will be displayed in your top left screen here. Each of these boxes represents something you're doing wrong, something that requires immediate attention. So, in this case, I see industrial capacity is being wasted. And of course, the game has just started on the road to war scenario, and it's paused, so I have no researching going on. And more efficient laws need to be enacted. Now, if you haven't already gone through the first 6 tutorials that this game gives you, I suggest you bite down and actually go through them. They do offer some bits of information. This is your energy, metal, and rare materials, and crude oil. Now, this is what the tutorial might give you a better understanding of what I'm about to talk about. Now we'll move on to your industrial capacity. All 4 of these materials are what you're going to need to build everything, from buildings to guns to ammunition, boats, tanks, planes, etc. And your IC, industrial capacity, is your ability to efficiently use these materials. Now, if you don't have enough factories to build enough tanks, let's say you're building tanks in every factory that you have, you're not going to be able to build anything no matter what you do. So that is pretty much the representation of industrial capacity. Of course, now this produces things like supplies, fuel, and money. You can trade for all of these as well, including all of the material items. You do want to stockpile in cash because the good old-fashioned dollar is one thing that can buy you everything in this game if you're down and can't produce it yourself. Germany, for instance, doesn't really produce much in the way of oil. But does produce a lot of energy. And so what I'm going to do now is we're going to move on to the diplomacy tab. Now, these are all the countries that exist in the game at one time, 200 and something, and this is how you can organize them, simply by clicking on the tab, and those countries will appear for you. But personally, I like to set them on all, and just use the names. Makes it a lot easier for me. Now, like I said before, Germany produces a lot of energy, so what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and trade that. And obviously, France and USA have a lot, but Italy has none. Now we're going to go and offer a trade. Now, if you look up for a second here, you'll notice that I have diplomatic influence points. These metaphorical notes or letters can be sent to, either solicit trades or to influence a nation, which I'll get into just in a minute. Now, when doing trades, you can have multiple deals or just one going at a time. I'm just going to do one. I'm going to sell 50 of my energy for 1.88 money. This here will change depending on whether or not the other country is going to accept your deal or not. This is pretty correct most of the time. You're not going to get an impossible deal ever. I'm going to go ahead and accept that. Underneath this is your automated trade button, so just turn that on if you don't like doing trades yourself, but you can always do it better than the computer, trust me. Underneath this is your diplomatic triggers, or these are historical events that if you actually try to see out will give you conditions that might actually take you a lot longer to just do by yourself. So it actually is good to follow these diplomatic triggers. Obviously, declaring war, offering alliances, these are very straightforward. These things require knowledge of something that's called neutrality, which I'll get into in my second video. Proclaiming guarantee, all of these are very straightforward. Inviting to faction. Inviting to faction and influencing nation go hand in hand. Countries like Japan and Italy, you're going to want to influence and then eventually invite into your faction when you have time. Let's move on to production. I don't have much time in this video. Production is very straightforward. What you produce comes up in this menu here. The time that it's going to be completed and whether or not you are working 100% at it is displayed here. This is what your industrial, like I said, the switching of all of these raw materials into through your industrial capacity. This is what you're going to be producing. Either more production, which goes into building of stuff like this, supplies, which will supply your troops, and reinforcements will reinforce your troops, and upgrades will upgrade your troops and upgrade buildings. Consumer goods are just for the people. This is a really important bar to have up all the time, otherwise you're going to get lots of dissent. Dissent isn't good. It brings back on production and unity, which you don't want. Pretty much outside of building, which I'll show you now, what I'm going to do is build 4 brigades of infantry soldiers, and I want to build more than one, and I don't want to just keep clicking start production, click, 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 start production. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to this menu here, which if I wanted to build them in serial production, it'd be one after another, or in parallel production, which I'm going to go ahead and click on. I'm going to build 4 parallel troops, which I'm going to build 4 brigades of 4 as reserves. Build them as reserves because we're not at war right now. We want to pay less, get them out faster. Let's go ahead and start production on that. And then what I like to do is turn on something called the automated escort builder, which you'll find later because the computer loves to build these escorts during wartime. This will pretty much keep a pretty good balance between production and unity. Now we're going to move on to technology. What I like to do first is go to industry and get the industry efficiency and production up. This is probably not the best strategy, but it's just what I like to do because I immediately like to build tons and tons of industry, and all of my nations preferably facing furthest away from Britain because you don't want to get them bombed. And when you build most industrial capacity upgrades, you want to build a few anti-aircraft guns. But anyway, back to technology. Now, if you were planning on using tanks or infantry or whatever it is that you have a fancy towards, then you're probably going to want to upgrade those. But what I like to do, especially, if this is your first time playing, just go ahead and stick that on AI control. It'll give you a general broad training, and it'll pretty much train everything slowly. But if you're playing against other people, it's best, obviously, not to do this. Okay, so now politics are very straightforward. You're going to want to change everything that comes up in your alert menu here. So, 2-year draft war economy, big education investment, and specialist training. Alright, we're going to just do that really quickly. Anyways, this concludes my tutorial. If you have any suggestions or requests, I'll try my best to get at them. I don't really do this thing too often, and I don't have much time to do run-throughs. That's why the sound quality and all that stuff is pretty shoddy right now. But anyway, I hope that helps some of you out, and yeah, thank you very much. Bye-bye.